All right, here we go. Hey, I'm Dustin Pari from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and we're here to talk with Brandy Green about another crazy case file from our past. Miss Green.
Yes, well, like I used to do on the show, I will give you the lowdown, and I
Thank
don't
you.
remember it entirely.
That's all
So
right.
Bodelwyddan Castle, North Wales. I actually think this was the first location that I filmed with you guys, but it was not the first location that I appeared in on the aired episode. Because they like to flip flop and edit things and play that game. Um, but this is a huge, like, super cool I think this is the first castle I've ever been to, actually. I remember it being kind of cold. I think it was in like March or April. Um, yeah, it was. I remember Andy Andrews climbing down underneath the floorboard into wires, like electrical wires that were active. They were like live wires, and he was just, you saw his feet, and he was gone
Just
under
scurried
the,
away.
yeah, his, yes, he tended to scurry,
Yeah.
like, very easily. I don't know how he did that.
Well, he had that flashlight that he had like strapped to that wristlet thing, so he could go
Yep.
anywhere. Gone. So your hands are free for other stuff, you
He's
know.
like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. So, all right. So, a couple of things. One, I think you're right. I think this was your first case with us, and it was definitely like shot out of order. Um, wasn't it weird, like going up to your first castle and you're like so enamored and excited, and then like by the time you were done filming with GHI, it was like I remember being on the road, like they're like, "Hey, you get to stay in the castle for 2 weeks," and I'm like, is there like a Holiday Inn? Like I'll take a Motel 6, like any place with a bed that's full human size that maybe has heat because it was always winter.
It is so true. That's one of the things that I always have to like correct people on. Oh, you guys are so lucky. I'm lucky that I get to wash my clothes in my hotel sink.
Right? For
I
sure.
remember you like hanging your pants, your wet, soaking pants outside your
Outside of
balcony door just to
yeah,
try to get them semi-dry before filming.
yeah, it
It
was
was
tough.
not glamorous.
No, no. I mean, and like, I mean, honestly, like staying in the castles and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Like, who doesn't want to do that? But you film there for 2 or 3 nights, but you live there for like 2 weeks while you're filming all the other stuff. So the investigation is 2 or 3 nights, but then you're there for weeks, and it seems like like a romantic idea of castles and stuff, but like there's no heat, there's no internet, and like I mean now like I would like a little break from all this stuff, but like the little things like laundry was a big deal. I remember moving into like a new state, like a new town, new country, always being like, okay, is there a laundromat nearby? Is there like an internet cafe? Like, is there some place so we can do these normal things? But yeah, washing underwear and socks in the sink and trying to dry them in the sun every day was just awful.
And that's so funny because like you're totally right. When I first started the show, it was like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And then by the end of it, I was like, oh great, another castle with
Yeah.
moles and spiders and like no elevator.
But wouldn't you love to go back and stay in one of them now? Like, given the opportunity, I'd go in a heartbeat for that.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I would probably bring like my own like sleeping bag and like I'd be prepared this time.
You learned. Yeah. Lots of socks, lots of undies.
For sure. So, Bodelwyddan Castle, I remember we were setting up. So the crew was like setting up cameras, and you and I were in this room that they kind of converted into the craft service room.
Mm-hmm. Always a good place to be.
Yes. And I don't know why, but one memory that sticks out still 10 years later, 10 plus years later, is you making a peanut butter sandwich,
Sounds
sitting at
about
the
right.
table, and there was this kid, maybe 19, I don't know, young,
Yeah.
and he had like this rat tail, like hairdo. I
Yeah.
don't even know who he was, why he was there, but he was just like hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And I don't think you knew who he was either because I remember getting a picture of you and you're just looking across the room at this kid like why are you here? Who
He
are
was
you?
sketchy. Like I don't know if he was like the local like fixer, like assistant they hired or whatever, but he was just like some sketchy young dude. And like when you've got a sketchy guy in a long red tie, like you got to keep an eye on a guy like that. Like you know, I'm stealing your sandwich for sure, but
Oh my gosh. It was just so random and so funny. It was a memory I had, and I'm like, why do I remember this? It seems so like just random.
I remember living on craft services stuff because they always gave us like so much money, like per diem to live with, and then like depending what country you were in, like usually, especially in the UK,
It
we got
didn't balance
killed.
it.
Yeah, it was like, you know, 2.5 to 1. Like you're losing money like crazy. So you buy a bottle of water, it's like $6, $7 like American or whatever it was. And so when they put out that craft food services, it was like, I'm putting this in my bag for my room. I need this peanut butter. Oh, there's leftover bread. It was like really sad. I remember bringing Pop Tarts with me on the road all the time because I was like, these stay fresh pretty much no matter what. They're easy to pack and they're, you know, they're good to have with you.
I remember bringing you Hostess pies, the chocolate pie.
Good stuff. Absolutely. I still love those.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so no, Bottle Within is something else. I feel like there was a statue. I don't remember what the story
The long
was.
man statue.
The Long Man.
The long
Like,
man. I remember I remember it was I want to say he had like a sword or something. I don't know if maybe I'm just putting that in there, but I remember it being a big statue against the wall. And I remember it took like a million takes to get to the part about I think there was something inscribed or something written below the long man, and we couldn't get through it because we're all juvenile. In the like the download, the history download of or whatever it was, because Rob and Barry and everybody kept laughing about the long man. So
oh, the Long Man. Yeah.
my memory of Bodelwyddan Castle or whatever it was called was they had some type of in the basement. There was I want to say it was a full skeleton, and it was but it had like wavy red hair, like Ariel the mermaid princess. And it was, you know, they just had this guy preserved there, the Bodelwyddan man. There was like a book about him and everything. I remember practicing with the woman who was like the host there to try to say Bodelwyddan man because I couldn't forever. I remember that was really. It was always kind of odd when they had like a skeleton on location because I was like, that doesn't make it haunted. It just makes it weird that you've got somebody's remains hanging out here, you know,
Right. I feel like they equate macabre for
or haunted.
haunted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think at least there though, like you know, it was preserved. It wasn't kind of put out in like a dark fashion. You know, I think they were respectful, but it's just odd to have remains like in a case.
right. No, and we had a number of those. I mean, we dealt
Yeah,
with a lot of human remains.
yeah,
A
for
lot.
sure. I
Yeah.
remember it was in Peru. There was one. It was just a case of like fragments and stuff.
Yep.
And I think
Yeah,
also,
for sure.
if I remember correctly, at Bodelwyddan, there was in that basement room too. There was one of those stories where like Satan showed up once as a man to play cards or something, and then like trick somebody, and like there's a hoof print or something that was in the stone floor, you know,
Okay.
and like that's where he left his mark, you know, so people would think you could talk to Satan there next
Right.
to the skeleton with the long hair. So
Because
I don't,
who wouldn't?
of course,
I mean,
yeah,
it would just be natural.
yeah,
Like you and I
absolutely.
right now.
Yeah. Satan just shows up. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. Time for our card game. Great. This will go
So
well.
I remember the only thing I really remember in terms of like potential evidence was something that Barry had captured on his camera. I can't remember which camera it was, but it
Maybe like
looked
the
like a
full
lemon.
spectrum.
It was like a blue lemon, and it was
Oh,
like an orb shooting through. It was super odd.
yeah. Yeah,
And
I think it might have been his the full spectrum camera, I think, when he was using that.
yeah,
I do remember it looked like it showed motion, like the way it was going.
right. No, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like velocity, like it looked like it was really flying through.
yeah.
Um, so I cannot remember, honestly, if we deemed that one haunted or not. I think we probably stuck with the adage of we found some strange stuff, but
Yeah, middle of the road kind of thing.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool place though. I remember liking that place. You know, I
Yeah.
remember liking some places more than others. That was one that I thought was. I enjoyed Wales just as a whole. It felt like a nice little like fairy tale land. I remember lots of little brooks and stuff, and it was a really pretty place.
Yeah, I remember like spending a lot of time out in the city, and just walking around with, you know, with you guys and exploring. I mean, it was really, it was like the stereotypical country setting.
I think the times that we did get away and just kind of explore and go walking around and stuff. And I remember Barry used to get mad at me because I would go walking alone at night all the time. But I'd like to just get out and like explore a little bit, you know. And it's crazy now because I'm like, I don't know, I guess because I'm getting older. It's like there's really like no directions, no like GPS on my phone, or like no phone to get me back to where I need to be.
Right.
It was like, oh, I think there was a bakery last on that street, and I turned there, you know. And
Yeah,
but
I mean,
go have an adventure, you know.
for reference, for people that are watching us right now, this was back in like the MySpace era.
Yeah.
This is like pre-Twitter, pre-Instagram, and like this
Right.
was like the old Wild West of
Internet.
everything.
Yeah. We had the one satellite phone, the one production satellite phone that you could use to call back only in an emergency.
Yep.
It was really just for the executive producers to use.
Right.
But if you had an emergency, you could borrow it to call back home. But it was I remember just waiting in line with like the laptop to try to get dial-up connection with your laptop to send an email home.
Yep.
Good times.
Good times indeed. All right. Well, I think that is all I really remember of Bodelwyddan. It's been kind of a long time.
Right. I think we should start changing the name of these things too, and that's all I really remember.
All right. So Bodelwyddan, case file.
That's it. Makes it
And we're
official.
done.
That's it. Thanks everybody for joining us. We hope you'll check out another one of these videos and see what we remember next time.